Hey guys, it's Diana, and today we're going to go over my October reading wrap-up and talk a little bit about my love-hate relationship with TBRs. So you may remember that I was trying to focus on all my arcs in October and then trying to read some spooky books. And I kind of succeeded. I did get through all of my arcs, so that was great. I didn't get to read so many spooky books, which was unfortunate. But I did actually post all the reviews for those arcs, so I feel like I'm still winning somehow. So what did I read in October? I will tell you what I read in October. The first book I read in October was Rogue Heart. This is the companion novel to Rebel Soul. I loved Rebel Soul. It was pitched as K-drama meets Pacific Rim, and I love both of those things, so I was very excited to read it, and I really enjoyed it. These books take place in a world in which the government of Neo Seoul is sort of doing science experiments on humans to make them stronger. They're trying to scientifically enhance them. And then they're sending them out into war zones in like giant mechs. It's actually pretty fucking cool. The first book follows Terra and Jaewon. The second book follows Amma, who is also one of the super enhanced humans. Terra's abilities focused on physical strength, whereas Amma's abilities focus on psychic strength. She can read minds, project images, craft illusions, telekinesis. It's kind of awesome. She is a very different character than Terra though, and I really enjoyed reading her narrative. Maybe even more so than Terra's, because Amma is sort of like the girl that has no idea what she's doing, but she's just gonna wing it, and she's freaking terrified, but that's not stopping her. And she's not naturally good at everything, so it was cathartic to read about a girl who's like, fuck, what are we doing now? And am I gonna live through it? Plus, we also had an interesting dynamic between her and Alex, who was also in the first novel. They had sort of a love thing going on, but then he betrayed her, so we have sort of a friends to lovers to enemies to lovers thing going on again here, which I really enjoyed. The only thing I didn't really like was the writing itself kind of made no sense sometimes. In multiple occasions, we are thrust into a situation only for the chapter to end, and then the situation is resolved in the next chapter, but we don't know how that happened. Literally, you're in the middle of a battle and the chapter ends with you going into the battle, and the next chapter begins with the battle being over and you walking across the war-torn battlefield. And giant holes like that in the action really kind of throw me. But overall, I really did enjoy it. Science fiction dystopian is always one of the things I really like reading, and in the end I gave it 2.5 to 3 stars. The next book I read in October was Rin Chupeko's The Never Tilting World. I have been screaming Rin Chupeko's praises since I read The Bone Witch. I love that trilogy. It's amazing. It's one of my all-time favorites in YA, and it has cemented her as an auto-buy author for me. So when I got an arc of The Never Tilting World, I was like, oh my god, this is my moment. And it did not disappoint. The Never Tilting World is a fantasy that takes place in a split world. Due to a ritual that went wrong many, many years ago, the world was divided into two. One half of the world lives in perpetual darkness, in cold weathers, with raging sea storms, and it's just not fun. It is ruled by one of the twin goddesses named Odessa, who is kind of dying, and nobody really knows why. She's got this mysterious illness that nobody can seem to heal. The other world exists in constant daylight in sand-scorched deserts with sandstorms, and it's also not fun. It is ruled by the other twin goddess, Haiti, who doesn't really want to be a goddess. She just kind of wants to tinker with mechanical stuff. She's a brilliant engineer who desperately wants to save her people. Both of these goddesses are goddesses of prophecy. There's shit that's being said about them that they don't know. The tricky part is that each half of the world thinks the other half is dead. Nobody knows that both of these worlds exist and are surviving. But both goddesses are pretty sure that they're the ones that have to fix this ship. So they take off with their chosen companions. Odessa has Lan, Haiti has Arjun, and they head for the middle of the world where it was split. And the book chronicles this journey. It has one of the most interesting and complicated magic systems I've ever seen. I do like that in order to cast magic, you have to physically cast it, which is something that was also included in the Bone Witch trilogy. It has 2 excellent romances, a lesbian and her knight, and 2 idiots in love and not admitting that they're in love. It does have 4 points of view. It follows Haiti, Odessa, Lan, and Arjun, so you get all of their thoughts, which I liked. I tend to enjoy books with multiple points of view, as long as we don't get past like 8. Even 8 is pushing it for me, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But yes, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think it's going to be the great start of a new series, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read in October was London Shaw's The Light at the Bottom of the World, and this was fantastic. It is a middle-grade adventure about a post-apocalyptic scenario in which the human race has been forced underwater. They live in underwater societies and are desperately trying to get back to the surface. In this specific situation, they actually knew this was coming, and in anticipation of it, they built anthropoids, which are kind of like androids, and they built them with the idea that they would help the humans rebuild society when it all went to hell. Unfortunately, the anthropoids have sort of rebelled against the humans. I guess they didn't take to being made to do all of the crap labor, and there's a bit of a rebellion going on. Meanwhile, our protagonist Layla is determined to enter this race in order to win the prize and ask for her father's freedom. Her father has been wrongly imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit, and nobody will tell her anything about what happened. I don't want to spoil anything because it's truly fantastic, but Layla ends up on the run trying to uncover a great conspiracy. And she has a lot of great companions, including an adorable puppy, a sassy hologram navigator for her ship, and a mysterious boy that sort of stows away. All in all, it was a lot of fun. It was a great story full of hope and heart, and great characters, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read in October was Alexa Dunn's The Stars We Steal. This is a retelling of Jane Austen's Persuasion in space. And if you've been on this channel, you know space is my jam. I fucking love space books. I'm always gonna read the space books. They're my favorite. And I did really enjoy it. I'm actually the least familiar with Jane Austen's Persuasion, so it was nice to go into it knowing almost nothing about it. The Stars We Steal takes place in space. There's an entire fleet of ships that carry the last of humanity, and Princess Leo is on one of those ships. She is on the verge of destitution, but nobody can know that. She is royalty and desperately trying to hold on to her title and come into some money by marrying someone rich during their romance season, which is called the Vogue. Her father has tasked her with saving the family this way, and she's kind of like, why though? Because her homegirl happens to be a brilliant inventor, and she's come up with a water filtration system that, if she can license it to the other ships in the fleet, will get them money without her having to sacrifice her own personal happiness. But her father's all like, what? Women? Inventing stuff? Science? Can't you just get married instead? Making this all super complicated is the return of her former flame, Wentworth, who she said she would marry and then changed her mind less than 24 hours later, and now he hates her. Important to note that homeboy was poor when he asked in the first place, and now he's come back super fucking rich. And kind of loving shoving it in her face that she rejected him and now he's awesome. But she's got to live with him shoving in her face and sort of trying to figure out how to save her family from ruin and keep everything going. I ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would. I love Jane Austen, I love things that take place in space, and I gave this 3 stars. The last book I read in October was William Ritter's Jacoby. This is the only sort of spooky book I got to read in October, and to be honest, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is about a detective named Jacoby and his new apprentice, Abigail Rook. Abigail desperately wants a life of adventure. She thought she could find it on her father's excavation sites because they're archaeologists, and when she doesn't find it, she flees and she joins Jacoby in his weird detective service. Jacoby explores all kinds of paranormal craziness that happens around the town. He's a lot like Sherlock Holmes. In fact, Sherlock Holmes is mentioned in this, which I kind of found interesting. He investigates all the weird shit that goes on in this town, and the police don't necessarily love working with him because he's a weirdo himself. Kind of like Sherlock Holmes. I actually enjoyed a lot of the folklore in this book. It was pretty fun to read about. I enjoy the characters. I don't think there's going to be anything romantic between the 2 main characters, which is refreshing. Maybe there will be in future books, but in this book they're strictly platonic. And kind of professional besties. But I can see it going romantic in future books, although she has somewhat of a love interest in this one. Anyway, it's not heavy or light, it is fairly well balanced. I liken it to my favorite TV shows that I keep on in the background when I'm doing other stuff. It's comforting, it's enjoyable, and I ended up liking it more than I thought I would. I gave it 3 stars. And that's all I read in October. I wanted to take a minute to talk about the TBR situation because I have this love-hate relationship with TBRs. As a person who really likes lists and making lists, I love the idea of the structure of a TBR. I love the idea that I know what I'm going to be reading every month and I can cross it off the list when I do. But as a person who's a mood reader, I kind of hate it. Because what if I'm not in the mood to read all the books that I've picked to read for that month? I used to combat this by picking a variety of different books with different genres so that I would have something at least I could be interested in, but I'm finding even that is not working anymore. October was super hard for me because I had this idea of this TBR that I wanted to read, and then I ended up reading almost none of it because I just wasn't in the mood. And I used to be super strict with my TBRs, like I would read only what I selected for my TBRs. And then I was like, well, that's not working, so how about I do a general TBR of books that I'm hoping to get to in the near future? And now even that is a little chafing. So I have no idea what I'm gonna do because I like TBRs, but I also don't like TBRs. Does anybody else have this problem? I feel like I can't be the only one. So in the future, I might restructure my TBRs, find a different way to do them. I thought about the TBR jar, but I don't know that that would help. So my question to you is, how do you decide what to read? Do you follow a TBR? Do you just wing it? My friend Princess just did an amazing thing with her TBRs. She turned them into quest logs, incorporating her love of video games into her reading, which was fantastic. That was awesome. It was so cool. You should definitely check it out. She has all these graphics that tell you what genre the book is, who the author is, how many pages it is. It's really neat. So maybe if I can come up with a creative way to do it, it won't feel like I'm trapped. Who knows? I'll have to think about it, but I am taking suggestions. So if you have any ideas on how to combat this, let me know in the comments. Enough about me. What are you up to? What did you read during October? What are you reading in November? Are you one of those people that are now all Christmas all the time, or do you think we should wait till after Thanksgiving? Tell me what you're thinking. Let me know in the comments and we'll talk. That's all from me, guys. Have a fantastic day and be excellent to each other. Bye! God, do you get crap all over your glasses? I swear, I clean my glasses like 5 times a day and they're still smudgy. What is this? Thank you.